Welcome back to the show, folks. My name is Scott. This is the Terrandome coming at you on a quick Saturday edition this time around. We'll get into the four games from Divisional weekend last week in the NFL playoffs, and we'll preview the conference championship games coming up tomorrow. Plus, we've had plenty of news happen around the NFL with the coaching carousel. Pete Carroll back in the league. Who saw that one coming? I certainly didn't. Only two jobs remain open as of now. And don't think that we've forgotten about the Celtics, Bruins, and Red Sox on this show, folks, but we'll have plenty of time to discuss that on next week's show, as we will be waiting 2 weeks for the run-up to Super Bowl 59. Josh Morris is back on the show once again on a Saturday edition of the Terrandome, and it starts right now. Terrandome. Minnesota was doomed from the start. I mean, this was a ass whooping. There's nothing short of that. It was a complete ass whooping. But I will tell you what, my friend, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. And it is time to get them back in the AFC Championship game. I believe that, listen, you're right about Derrick Henry, especially in cold weather. No one's going to want to tackle that guy. So it's going to be imperative for the Buffalo Bills to jump out early in this game and get a lead and force Lamar Jackson to have to play from behind. They can do that. They're going to win this game. Mention things that we love to hear, like we're getting the entitlement out of our team, and we're going to earn the opportunity to come into this building every day. I absolutely love that. One thing I will say for sure, yes, they definitely need to go and spend some friggin' money. They're going to have the most cap space in the league, and I'm going to kill them every week on this show until they spend money. Terrandome, and it starts right now. Well, folks, welcome back to the show. Of course, it's the Terrandome. By the way, shout outs to my main man, DJ Mark After Dark, for the new opening track. Yes, we had to dump the Welcome to the Terrandome because YouTube doesn't like that. So they said, hey, copyright, can't use somebody else's song. I get it. So thanks to DJ Mark After Dark. By the way, his radio show is called The Jazz Zone. It's every Wednesday night here in Providence on 101.1 FM and streaming worldwide at procomrade.org. So make sure you check that thing out, and you'll hear my voice on there a few times a week too. So thank you to DJ Mark for that. Josh Morris is back on the show once again. A very good friend that would join me on his family's Saturday night. Josh, thank you so much for the time. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, buddy. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Life comes at you fast sometimes, but I'm happy to be here. Let's just put it that way. So, we're just going to get right into it. Divisional round games, they were a while ago now, right? A full week ago on the two Saturday games and 6 days ago on the Sunday games. So we're just going to try to kind of fly through the recaps there. We'll make our picks for conference championship weekend. There are only 3 games left in football season, folks, unless you count that crappy Pro Bowl flag football thing, which nobody's counting that. Yeah, and then, well, college football's over too. Not that you and I care, but a lot of people do. So, Josh, last Saturday we had the Kansas City Chiefs against the Houston Texans. Kansas City were 9-point favorites, and the over-under in this game, I believe, was 41.5 or 41. Either way, Kansas City and the referees, 23, Houston, 14. Penalties in this game, Josh. Houston, 8, Kansas City, 4. Mahomes drew 3 penalties by himself. 2 of them should not have been called. And he also tried to bait the refs into another one by flopping like a soccer player on the sidelines when he was barely touched as he was going out of bounds. In the last 10 playoff games for the Kansas City Chiefs, they have 36 penalties. By the way, that's less than 4 a game. Do the math. That's 3.6 penalties a game for the Chiefs and 66 for the opponents. ESPN ran that stat during the week, just so you know how bad it is. When you have players openly calling this stuff out after games and ESPN runs a graphic like that, that's when you know how bad it is. You and I took these games in last Saturday, and I can recall you and I yelling at the TV several times for minutes at a time. And Patriots fan here, right? We certainly had some calls go our way over the years, but I still contend that this is worse than it ever was with the Patriots. What do you make of this as somebody whose team has been beaten by the Chiefs twice in the Super Bowl in the last 5 years?
Yeah, no, I mean, even Aikman called it out on the broadcast.
Oh, Joe Buck and Troy
Like
Aikman were all over them
he
for
was
for
like
once.
he was you could tell he was frustrated because it gets to the point where like that one where he's scrambling back and forth left and right and then he just drops down and gets hit. It's like as a defensive player you can't, and then he busts these like 20-30 yard runs because these defensive players are pulling up, and then he just runs down the sideline and everyone's like, "Oh, great Mahomes is," and it's like, dude,
No, it's because everyone's afraid to touch him.
and that's the thing, when they do touch him they get called for it, and they're not even like doing any harm to them. So it's getting to the point where it's like blatantly obvious, because I actually watched something on Instagram like Monday or Tuesday, and they were showing some of the hits that Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts all took as runners. Like there were a couple of Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson getting hit 2-3 yards out of bounds, no flags. So it's like you're getting to the point where it's like you're shoving it in our face that like we want the Chiefs there. And it's like I get it. Like you have like I've made the comment, it's cyclical in the NFL where they have dynasties and they have these teams where they become the villain of the NFL, and the NFL obviously doesn't want to lose that because that creates drama and that creates people wanting to watch. Because here's the thing, everyone wants to see the Chiefs lose now. Everyone
Everybody.
wants it,
Mhm.
except if you're in Missouri. That's it. Other than that, like you want to see them lose. So I think it's getting to the point though where it's like a little over the top.
Yeah, I would say so. That play that you first mentioned when you started talking there, you mentioned the one where he kind of danced around and juked and he was like behind one of his linemen. He literally falls to the ground, right? And
Hmm.
two Texans players converge on that and they hit each other. Mahomes barely gets hit on the play, 15-yard penalty, unnecessary roughness. First sack of the game by Will Anderson. Will Anderson pulls up as he's going to hit him because he knows Will Anderson, elite pass rusher for the Texans, defensive player of the year and all that, I believe, whatever, rookie of the year, whatever. He'll get a DPOY at some point. Same thing, doesn't hit him with the crown of his helmet, never hits him with his helmet, hits him in the shoulder, 15-yard penalty. So, I mean, what are these guys supposed to do? And to your point about the villain, yeah, they're playing that card really, really well. They're super unlikable. To be honest, in this game, I mean, the real key, I mean, I mean, I'll give Kansas City credit with this. The pass rush was good. They sacked CJ Stroud 8 times. He took a lot of sacks he shouldn't have taken in this game. I thought Houston's offense was actually pretty good, all things considered, moving in the ball, but they couldn't finish off drives. Their kicker cost them 4 points. Nico Collins was playing through an injury in this game. He was on the sideline several times. You could tell he was in pain. He would come back out there, Mixon 88 and a score. Patrick Mahomes just 16 completions for 177 yards and a touchdown. And who was that touchdown to? The slowest guy on the field, but somehow was open all night long, Travis Kelce. The slowest guy on the field is Travis Kelce. And he goes for 117 yards and a score. I don't get it. So here's what I do get, though. The line, Kansas City -9 in this game, right? Just so happens that they were up by 11. We're going to take an intentional safety like Belichick style to end the game, to make it a 9-point game. I will make this point again later. Patrick Mahomes has never lost a playoff game at home in regulation. It still hasn't happened. It's happened. He's only lost at home one time, Patriots fans, and I bet you remember when that was. But this Kansas City team, they can be had, right? This team still is not. I realize that they're 16-2 now. This team can be beaten. Tell me that I'm wrong. Tell me I'm not wrong about that.
No, I think the Bills win this week.
Yeah, I'm with you, and that concerns me a little bit. It concerns me when we're both in agreement for a road dog. But Buffalo, and we'll talk about this later, only 1.5-point dogs in this game, so it's very much kind of toss-uppy.
Right? 2.5, 2 for being at home, so it's pretty much a pick 'em.
Yeah, they're kind of giving you a toss-up. Like Baltimore was -1 against Buffalo on the road last week. Said obviously, speaking of Baltimore, Kansas City would host the winner of Baltimore and Buffalo, which are played the next day. And just one final thing on this game, Josh, Houston fired offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick 6 days after this game. Was that fair of them to do?
No, it makes no sense. He was one of the hottest coaching commodities last year. and he stayed. He chose to stay. He had offers from other teams, and he stays. And you can't blame him for losing Stephon Diggs, losing Nico Collins for a while, losing
Tank
Tank
Dell.
Dell, and CJ Stroud's regression. Like he had a sophomore slump. That's just kind of on par with quarterbacks. That it happens. So to blame Bobby Slowick and have him be the scapegoat, it's gonna be like with the Bruins, not to cross sports, but where those guys last 5, 6 days, he's gonna have a job within a week.
Yeah, I don't really get that. Oh, there goes my camera. Stand by. Okay, that's back. Yeah, I don't really get that myself either. And I didn't, it didn't make any sense to me. I even thought that he had an interview even this offseason. I thought Jacksonville interviewed him, but I guess not enough to save his job. So yeah, you're right. He'll have a job pretty quickly. So that'll be one. That's one name to watch. Bobby Slowick. Don't think that he should have been let go. Now, second game of the weekend. Probably the most, well, I don't know, maybe the second most entertaining. Depends on how you look at it and where your standpoint is.
This game was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch, especially in the first half. The Washington Commanders beat the Detroit Lions 45 to 31 in a wild back and forth affair. The over under on this game was 55 and a half. We both thought that that was pretty high. They almost hit it in the first half of this game, ended up with 76 total. And I know that I know we both said Detroit outright on the show. That is true. That's what we both said. I think I said that Washington would cover. I thought they would. I had a weird feeling on Saturday morning. I took a look and saw, oh, 95% of the betting money is on the Lions. So I thought, what do I have to lose except $50? So I threw 50 bucks on the old Washington Commanders on Saturday night, and you can attest to this. I was celebrating a little bit too much for what was a plus 400 bet, but 200 bucks is 200 bucks. Cha-ching. So there you go. Anyway, back to the football part. Jaden Daniels plays this game like he's got 10 years experience, not like he's playing in his 18th game as a professional football player. The game does not look like it phases him. It looks like it's slow to him. And I heard that he has a VR training regimen. So maybe there's something to that.
A German VR training regimen. Like that.
I guess he speeds it up to 1.75 speed, and that's how he. Listen, whatever he's doing, it's working for him. And I'm not ready to give up on the Jaden Daniels rookie run here either. And we'll talk about that a bit later. Um, for Detroit, I thought it was a mix of some. There were some stupid trick play calls in this game that certainly didn't help them. Their defense obviously wasn't very good, but you cannot turn the ball over 5 times in the playoffs and expect to win a game. You just can't. That's exactly what they did. Jared Goff had 3 interceptions in this game, and he also lost a fumble. And Jamison Williams, he's back. He was back there throwing a pass. He got picked off too. To your point about the refs and Mahomes, Jared Goff took a hit in this game where he had to be evaluated for a concussion.
Total illegal hit. Totally illegal.
Got smacked, helmet type of hit, right? No call. No call. Nothing. No
If it
call
was
for
that
Jared
problem,
Goff.
the
Sorry.
police might have come on the field, not even the refs.
Yeah, listen. He took a shot. Was that on one of the interceptions too?
That was on the fumble,
Oh, that was right. That's how he did fumble.
right?
Yeah.
That was the one they scooped and scored, right? Or was that the pick six?
It was one of the
I think it was the
turnovers.
pick
I
six.
can't
I
listen.
think it was the pick six because they scored on it, and it was right before he got to the end zone. The guy hit him in the.
Just like laid him out. Yeah. Right in the chin. Yeah, that's what I thought. Um, no call on that one, so he doesn't get the Mahomes treatment, I guess. Um, it's a shame. I know Detroit was everybody's darling the last couple of years, but we kind of sort of hinted at this the last few weeks of the season and heading into the playoffs, Josh. I know we both touched on it that just their defense was just gashed and just battered and just so many guys injured. Hard to win that way, and you can't win turning the ball over 5 times. Credit to Washington. They capitalized on every opportunity in this game, though.
Yeah, and Jared Goff kind of turned into that pumpkin that regular season he's great, but when it comes to the playoffs, it seems like he really knows how to dribble down his leg.
Yeah, you got a little McNabb in him, I guess. But you know, every once in a while in the regular season he'll have a game like that too, right? He had a
Against
game this year where he threw 5 picks. So,
Texans, but they won that game.
but they won that game, right? Because they probably got a couple turnovers themselves. Because at one point in this season, the Lions did have a good defense. It's just by the time this game rolled around, they were in some serious hurt. You knew that's why I saw the 55 and a half, and I said I'm still smashing the over because I just think that it's going to be all offense in this game. And to that point, 1,002 combined yards of total offense between these two teams. Jaden Daniels, 22 out of 31 for 299, 2 scores, added 51 yards on the ground. This is important. He was not sacked. If Aiden Hutchinson had been healthy for this game, Daniels probably gets sacked once or twice. That's just me, objectively speaking. Skill position players had a field day for the Commanders. Brian Robinson Jr., 77 yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground. Terry McLaurin, 4 catches for 87 and a score for him. My ball, Zach Ertz, 5 catches for 28 yards and a touchdown. De'Ami Brown, 6 catches for 98, and Austin Eckler had 88 total yards in this game. So they feasted on offense. You should with all those extra opportunities. Flip side, Jared Goff, 23 out of 40 for 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry, 313 yards. He threw 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and lost the fumble. Jahmyr Gibbs was the highlight for the Detroit Lions in this one, Josh. He turned 20 touches into 175 total yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 8 catches for 137. Sam Laporta, 6 catches for 51 and a score. Fourth downs, Washington 3 out of 4, and Detroit 2 out of 2 on fourth down. What else do you want to make of this game before we move forward, my friend?
I will say, like you just mentioned, the fourth downs. We saw that stat they showed. That they've only missed like 5 all year. So that might play a big role in tomorrow's game.
I think they're just going to keep. They're not gonna clam up. They're not gonna just start being ultra conservative. They're not gonna go away from what's gotten them here. Against a team with a really good defense like Philadelphia, I think it's gonna be a lot tougher sledding for them. But I think we're in for a couple of good games tomorrow. At least I hope so, because by and large, the majority of these games haven't been well. Last weekend was pretty good. This next one we're going to go to. Oh, and by the way, Washington, as the 6th-seeded Washington Commanders, would travel to the winner of the Rams at Eagles game that was played in the snow in Philly the next day. That is where we go to next, my friend. The 4th seed, LA Rams, looked like they were going to be in this game to the end for a while. But in the end, Philadelphia just a little too much. The snow, I think, played a role in that in the second half in this game. Philadelphia 28, LA Rams 22. Like I said, the Rams stuck with Philly most of the way in this game. But when the snow started coming down heavy in the third, Kyren Williams and Matthew Stafford fumbled on back-to-back possessions in this game to open up the fourth. Actually, this was in the fourth quarter to open up the fourth quarter, but that's a really bad time to do that. First one was returned 40 yards down to the LA 10-yard line, short field goal. Next one also in LA territory, another Jake Elliott field goal. That put them up 28-15 at that point. Rams then go 3 and out. Philly takes over, and Saquon Barkley right away, 78-yard touchdown run. I did got my sequence on the scoring backwards, but that made it 28-15 at the time, which basically sealed it with 4:47 to go. That's where my parlay went up in smoke. I had $1,700 on the line, Josh, but it went up in smoke when they hit the over on this game. I thought it would go under because of the snow. Rams went down quickly and scored with little resistance. That one kind of seemed a little fishy to me, how quickly they were able to go and do that. That one seemed odd. Ends up being 28-22. Philly would go on to win 28-22. Oh, and wouldn't you know, the spread was 6 points in this game. So, all in all, exactly what we expected. We both said Philly would win, and we both said that they would cover the -6. Technically, it's a push, which is really annoying, but hey, you got to make sure that people don't make money on everything. So,
Hey, you're supposed to have hooks.
listen, when they were up 28-15 with under 5 minutes to go, I was like, don't let them go down and score right away. That's exactly what they did. So,
Yeah, and the Rams had a chance until Jalen Carter pretty much ended it for them, but they were like at the 25 or 30-yard line with a minute left, and Stafford took a huge sack, and that was pretty much the end of it. But they were right there. But again, dude, like how many yards did Jalen Hurts throw for? Like, I just don't understand what these guys are doing.
That would be 128, my friend. He threw for 128 yards in this game. He ran for 70, scored a touchdown. He was also sacked 7 times. The Rams had 16 sacks combined in their 2 playoff games. So they can obviously get it done rushing the quarterback. One other thing I want to say, if you just take out 2 carries from Saquon Barkley in this game, they held up against him. Okay, so just hear me out. The overall, and this isn't how you do things, right? But I'm just bear with me. Saquon goes for 26 carries for 205 yards and 2 scores in this game, right? The 2 touchdown runs were 62 and 78 yards, right? That's 140 yards. If you take that out, his other 24 carries were for 65 yards total. So if you just don't let them break contain twice, do the Rams have a shot to win this game? I don't think it's not that cut and dry. I understand it's not that simple, but I'm just saying.
It kind of is. Like, that's why Philadelphia keeps running the ball, because they know with Saquon at any moment it can happen. But I'd rather let Jalen Hurts throw for 300 yards, because it ain't going to happen. And if it does, he's probably going to give you a couple gifts.
Yeah. So to your point, I wasn't going to mention this until we got to the preview portion, which is going to be in about 10 minutes. But Jalen Hurts averages just 192 passing yards per game in the playoffs. That's it. And 7 career starts in the playoffs. And he was doing this all down the stretch in the regular season as well. So yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, Barkley is the guy that can churn out yards, and he's also the guy that can hit the home run at any point. And that's what he did. He did it twice in this game. The one in the fourth quarter was an absolute dagger. Those 2 runs show why he's the best in the game right now. But coulda, woulda, you almost had it. You almost had it. So we already mentioned Jalen Hurts 15 out of 20. 15 out of 20. Only to throw the ball 20 times for 128 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, sacked 7 times, 70 yards and a rushing touchdown on the ground. Matt Stafford goes 26 of 44. That is a guy that looked like he knew what he was doing, because I didn't think that Dome team had any shot in that game, and he kept them in it for a while. Although I will say, 324, 2 touchdowns through the air. He fumbled twice and he lost one, and it was a critical loss fumble. And he was sacked 5 times in this one. Kyron Williams, 19 carries for 106. Puka Nacua, 6 catches for 97. Cooper Kupp, 5 catches for 61. And Tyler Higbee, the tight end, 7 catches for 54 and a touchdown. I don't know how much more you want to highlight this game. Do you have anything else you want to add? Because I'll move forward if you don't want to.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, we're good. Yeah, don't really love talking about Philly that much either. Philly, they will host Washington for the 3rd time this season in the NFC Championship game. They won 26-18 in Week 11 on Thursday Night Football at home, and they lost 36-33 in Week 16. Jalen Hurts left that game in the first quarter with a concussion, and Kenny Pickett, their backup quarterback, got hurt in that game as well. Josh loved to point out to me last week, and he's right about that. They lost that game with their 3rd-string quarterback, and I believe that Washington turned the ball over 5 times in that game and did everything they could to try and give it to them, if I remember correctly, because I watched that game, because I probably had money on it, because I'm a degenerate or anything. I almost call myself a loser, but a degenerate nonetheless. Josh, before we move from this game, I did have one more question. Does this Philly team look like it can win the Super Bowl to you?
Yes, because they have Saquon Barkley.
That's it. Okay. I say no, but they have a great defense, and they have Saquon Barkley. And
Give them a chance.
And if opposing teams cannot figure out to put 8 friggin' guys in the box every single play and dare Philly to throw against you, they're probably going to keep winning. So we'll see what the Commanders, who admittedly don't have the best defense, let's see what they can come up with tomorrow. I'll be very curious to watch that. Perhaps, at least the game that we thought would be the tightest and ended up being the closest score was the final one of the weekend, Sunday night at 6:30. The Baltimore Ravens, the 3 seed, on the road at the 2 seed. Buffalo Bills, and what did I say on the show last week, my friend?
It was Josh Allen's time.
No, I said nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
But you did say it was Josh Allen's time.
I said it's time to get him back. Did I? I think
yes.
I might have. It's time. Listen, it's time for somebody other than Mahomes to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Because except for 2021. For the last how many years has it been either Mahomes or, yeah, Tom Brady? Just saying. It's at least, it's what, 6 out of the last 7 Super Bowls or so, or
Yeah,
whatever,
and I
something
think
like
if you
that.
go back to 2012, it's only Brady, Manning, Mahomes, and Burrow. That's it.
Burrow had the one, but yeah, yeah. And Manning only had the one in that span too. Um,
Two.
all right, because they got
Got
smoked by
absolutely
Seattle, which was
by
one of the most satisfying games I've ever watched in my life. Because at that point, Peyton Manning had thrown 55 touchdowns in the regular season, and all I wanted was for him to get crushed in the Super Bowl, and Seattle provided that. So that was nice. And then they provided the dumbest play call in history the very next year. Malcolm Butler, Malcolm go. Pat's baby, Pat's second dynasty is born. Anyway, that's nothing that you want to hear about. So Baltimore at Buffalo. All I want to say is this. The first of all, final score, not spoiling this for anybody. It was 6 days ago. Buffalo 27, Baltimore 25. This is what the Ravens and John Harbaugh get for blowing the whistle on the nothing story of Deflategate. I know it's been 10 years, but screw you, Harbaugh, and screw you, Ravens. Karma's still a bitch.
That
That's
was
what
the
you get.
Colts.
Yeah, but you know what? But they corroborated it. They corroborated with the Colts. They said that, oh yeah, that happened with us the week. The same. There was. Let me have my minute here. Why you gotta? Why? Let me have my minute. Um, damn. Anyway, Baltimore gets out to a 7-0 lead, 4 minutes and 20 seconds into the game, and then Buffalo would control it for most of the rest of the first half. They led this one 21-10 at halftime. Was looking good for the Bills, but you knew Baltimore wouldn't go away that easily, didn't you? Of course you did. They didn't commit to the run early in the game like they probably should have. The result, Lamar Jackson throws a horrible, and I mean terrible, interception, probably 10 yards over his receiver's head. Then he puts another ball on the ground later in the game. Those 2 turnovers cost them just as much as Mark Andrews did. It's a
Well,
team
I did
game.
mention to you, he's never played in a game that cold, and you could tell on that play where he's getting sacked, he's just holding the ball out there like
You know, like in one hand, he's holding it like it's a pizza, like this.
really doesn't realize how slick it is in that cold weather, and the ball just literally just pops out of his hand.
I will say this much. Matt Stafford did the exact same thing the game before that in a critical spot. I don't know if
You
you
don't
caught
realize
that, but it was the same. Sorry.
you don't realize how dry and cold your hands get in that kind of weather, and how that pigskin, like especially as it's worn down more, because a lot of these quarterbacks they like it
Yeah, they
rough.
rub their balls up. Yeah, no, I know.
Right. They like them roughed up, you know? So, but you can tell like, he just literally just loses the grip of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing, he doesn't like put it on the ground and it pops out, it literally just pops out of his hand.
I mean, you and I and everybody else from where we're from have all played football in cold weather. You know that basically that thing turns into like a duck pin bowling ball, but like wicked cold. Like there's no grip on the thing whatsoever. And
No,
that's exactly what happened to Lamar. Um, but we gotta talk about something else with this game because the run was clearly working for Baltimore when they actually went to it, right? They carried the ball 30 times combined for 176 yards. That means they were averaging 6 yards a tote.
they do it every year, Scott. Every freaking year. And I said it. I said if they stick with the run, I think they'll win. No, we want Lamar to be the guy. Well, guess what? He's not the guy.
It's almost like we gotta fix this narrative about how Lamar can't win, and then you just end up with egg on your face. But the Ravens did their jobs in the second half, really, because they held Buffalo to only 2 field goals. The second one puts the Bills up 27-19 with only 3:29 in regulation.
I
And
feel like
starting on their
the Bills let it get away from them a little bit in the second half because they really did have like a stranglehold at halftime. They really didn't let them back in.
They did, but you kind of knew Baltimore wasn't going to go away. And I will say this much: the drive before that, when Baltimore scored, and I believe they missed an extra point, or they go for two and
No,
miss.
they missed the 2 point.
Right, but that drive, they finally just said we're going to run the ball.
You texted me that they didn't run it in with Henry on the 2 point conversion. They threw it and it got tipped.
Yeah, right. And then they do it. They don't learn their lesson. They do the same thing later on in the game. So let's get to that. Ravens started their own 12, 3:23 to go. I'm going to give Lamar Jackson credit for this one. He pulled off a great drive to lead them to a touchdown, and no one's talking about it in the aftermath of this game. After
Yeah,
he missed,
likely was a good throw too.
oh, it was a really good throw. After missing on his first attempt, he scrambles for 8 yards on the next play. They're at their own 20. Jackson goes 6 of 6 for 80 yards and that beautiful 24-yard touchdown strike to Isaiah Likely. They bring Baltimore back to within two, 27-25 with only 144 to go. Why do you not run Derrick Henry down here? They don't do it again. It's a rollout to the right, and Jackson throws it to Mark Andrews, and it was a little bit low, a little bit low. But for a guy that is an all-pro tight end like Mark Andrews, a guy that's had 100 catches in a season like Mark Andrews,
Gotta be had.
gotta be had. Hits him in both hands, ding, drops it. He also had a costly fumble earlier in the quarter, or maybe it was in the third quarter, after he hadn't fumbled all season. Either way, he's your scapegoat. Horrendously crushing defeat for the Baltimore Ravens. And no, I take no satisfaction in the freaking Buffalo Bills continuing to win every year. But F the Ravens, well, F both of them, really. Screw both of them. Can't stand them. But to quote the great Edgar Allan Poe, the Ravens, nevermore. So there you go. That's right. I did that. I've been waiting to do that this whole time. Just did it. Yes. F the Ravens, nevermore. So let's go Baltimore. I mean Buffalo. Jesus Christ. Let's go Buffalo.
You know what that drop kind of reminded me of? The 2011 AFC Championship game,
which was Baltimore.
right? Was it you guys again? Was it Lee
Baltimore.
Evans?
Lee Evans, that's right. Yep.
I had it right here because
Yep.
I was actually, not to brag, humble brag, I was at Candlestick watching that game on the big screen.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah. So like, because we were waiting for the Giants.
You guys are all rooting for Baltimore.
We were all rooting for Baltimore. None of us
Yeah.
wanted to see the Patriots in there.
Nope.
So we're all rooting for Baltimore because we're also thinking it's the Harbaugh Bowl the year before.
Right. You got it a year later.
We did. But so we're all, watching it, and that ball hits him right in the hands, and it just down on the ground. And it kind of same thing. Like Baltimore has just had.
Oh, don't forget the part where Billy Cundiff comes in for a 30-yard field goal and he kicks it all the way like down to Providence. Like he missed it by so much. Oh, the amount of luck we used to have.
That feel watching that game unfold like that, like because they scored the touchdown. I'm like, watch, they're not going to get the 2-point conversion. Sure enough, hits Mark. You remember, snow doesn't bother. A little bit of snow doesn't bother Mark Andrews.
Ooh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was an unfortunate tweet that the Ravens Twitter account put out, wasn't it?
You said
that was unfortunate. Oh man, you should never do stuff like that. You never know when you're going to jinx the entire fan
after
base.
the game. You do that like he catches the game-winning touchdown. You don't
never do. They've obviously they could have taken a page out of my book. Never say anything that you don't want to go wrong. Anyway, hold on one second. That'll be fun to edit out. But so anyway, let's just wrap this one up in a tidy little bow. Baltimore outgains Buffalo 416 to 273 in that game. They really had a hold on the second half of this game. By the way, Josh Allen only threw for 127. Didn't really have to do much. He only ran for 20 yards, but two of those, two rushing touchdowns for Allen. Cook had just 67 yards rushing. Khalil Shakir led the way with 6 catches for 67. Jackson, 18 to 25 for 254. 2 touchdowns, a pick that we already talked about, and the lost fumble. He ran for 39 yards. Derrick Henry only had 16 carries in this game for 84 yards. I feel as though they would have been better served if Derrick Henry had another 8 to 10 carries in this game, and I don't think that is a groundbreaking statement. And Justice Hill actually had 6 carries for 50 yards himself. Buffalo couldn't stop the run, and you stopped running the ball.
What was it, week 4 when they faced on Monday night? They got absolutely trounced because they couldn't stop the run. I swear, I don't know if it's Harbaugh, the offensive coordinator. I don't know who the hell it is, but they do this every friggin' year. They do it every year in the playoffs. They try to get cute and they try to get smart, quote unquote, and you end up looking like a bunch of idiots.
Unfortunately, true for them because everybody's waiting for Lamar Jackson to break through and get that next step. And I still feel like at some point in his career he's going to get there. I just don't know when it's going to be. It might not be for another 5 years, but I still think he's going to get there at some point.
Yeah, because I really do feel like he did improve as a passer this year. He was a better passer. I mean, the numbers show that, and if you watched his games, but I mean, he still has those moments where he overthrows a receiver by 10 yards, and you're like, oh man, that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah, but you don't see it's always more magnified when it's on that stage. Everybody's watching. Tony
Mm.
Romo's openly rooting for Josh Allen and the Bills. Like you got all that going on, like openly ball washing Josh Allen and the Bills. What the hell is CBS gonna do tomorrow when they gotta Allen versus Mahomes? Is everybody just clear the room for Romo's pants tent? That's all I'm gonna say. Can I say that? I just said it.
All you're gonna hear from Romo is
Jim, oh my God, Jim.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, Patrick.
let me get some more Botox in my face, Tony Romo. So, okay, final question on this game. Then we will move to talking about the future. Um, and I think this is an obvious answer, but I'm gonna give you the question. Was this one more about Buffalo winning the game or Baltimore losing it?
No, Baltimore, bad play calling. They had 3 turnovers. I don't think Buffalo had any. And Buffalo's defense isn't super strong. So it's like, I just don't understand why Jim Harbaugh's not like run it until they stop it. Because Jim Harbaugh is also the guy that goes for it on like every 4th down. So it's like,
John,
I'm sorry, John Harbaugh.
just trying to help.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Um, John goes for it constantly. He's had one of the best kickers for the past 10 years or whatever, and he's never used properly because they're always going for it on 4th down. But you're not, I'd run it 3 straight downs, and then if it's 4th and 2, what the hell? Do it again. Like, they're not going to stop you that consistently. They've
Oh.
proven it to you that they haven't. So I just don't understand. These guys outsmart themselves.
Yeah, not with that offensive line and not with that friggin' guy that's 6'5" and 250 pounds running the ball, whatever he is, 6 foot.
He's essentially another offensive lineman who can run.
And we say it all the time, cold weather games or really any game, Derrick Henry, the more times you run him, the more effective he is because the defense is going to get sick of tackling him. And that's what happened on that drive where they went to get the game to 19 to 27. And they went down the field, marched down the field. All they did was hand the ball off that drive. Buffalo couldn't stop them. They saw it.
10 yards to carry.
They saw it. I don't know what else you want. They saw it in front of their own eyes. They chose to ignore it. So you get what you pay for. But my friend, through the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, I am sitting at a healthy 7-3 outright. We were both 4-2 on wild card weekend. I went 3-1 in divisional weekend. You, my friend, are at 6-4. So there's still 3 games left. You could very well end up being ahead of me at the end. You went 2-2 last week, but that's okay. Plenty of time to rebound. Well, not really, but we got 3 games left, and our picks are going to be different. So let's get to the first one. Tomorrow afternoon at 3:00, it's the NFC Championship game. It'll be the 6th seed Washington Commanders at the 2 seed Philadelphia Eagles. This game's over-under is 47.5 points, and Washington is a 6-point underdog per Caesars Vegas Sportsbook. I mentioned it earlier, Jalen Hurts averages just 192.3 pass yards per game in the playoffs. Oddly enough, Jalen Hurts has not thrown an interception in the playoffs since his very first career playoff game in the 2021 wild card round. That was January of 2022. Josh, what say you for the 3rd time this year, Philadelphia against Washington? What do you say?
It pains me because I think I said to you last Saturday, I thought Detroit was the only team that might be able to beat them. And the Commanders aren't going to beat them. They're just not.
Okay, give me some reasons as to why they're not going to.
Okay, so your Commanders over there, 4th worst rush defense in the NFL. 4th worst against the best rushing team in the NFL. So I think technically that might have been Baltimore. But if it's not Baltimore, it's got to be Philadelphia because they have Saquon Barkley. And I see Saquon going for, quote me, $150.
$150. Hold on, I gotta write this down.
At least.
So Philly wins. Now go ahead, keep going. I got it.
Handedly.
Saquon. So you think they cover the? You think not only they win, what are they going to win by more than 6?
I'd even bet 10 points.
10 points.
Yeah, I'd bet alternate spread if I could. 10 points.
You think they win by 10?
Yes, because I Saquon's going to run for $150. He had 105 in that last game. In the first half.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you say Washington has the worst rushing defense in Oh,
Fourth.
did you say fourth worst? Oh,
Fourth
okay.
worst.
Okay, so there were three teams that were worse. Okay. All right. So that's your reasoning then.
Yeah, they're not going to pass the ball.
Oh.
They're
Hmm.
not going to have to. Now, trust me, I don't want to see Philadelphia in the Super Bowl. Because say it is Philadelphia in Kansas City. I'm going to be miserable on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, you and me both, my friend. Well, if that does happen, I have one exacta bet where I do have one in for a futures bet with Kansas City beating Philly just like a couple years ago. Cashed in on that then. Probably just might happen again. Um,
It better not.
yeah, I know. We'll all have dysentery together if that happens. Um, so I'm gonna go against all logic here. I don't have I don't have nice cute little stats like that, like fourth worst. It's readily available to me. I'm just choosing to ignore it. Fourth worst rush defense in the league. Philly also has what I consider to be a top three defense in football right now. I think that's fair. What I will say is this, and this is really all I have to go on, and I'm betting on a rookie here, and it's probably going to be egg on my face, but I am riding the fuck.
Oh, you almost did
You
it.
can't swear more than once on the show, man. I've already done it like three times. I am all in on Jaden Daniels. I am so in on this kid.
Oh, I know. I was there Saturday. I was watching you salivate over him.
Yeah, well, you know when they were 9.5 point dogs and won the game, and they won me too. And I was crazy enough to bet $50 on it. I got it right. So yeah, I was all over it. But even before that happened, because if I recall, I waited until like the fourth quarter to tell you that I made that bet because I didn't want to jinx myself like I always do.
Yeah, you kept yelling at me as I would say, "Oh, they're gonna hit the over in the first." You're like, "Shut it!"
Yeah, because I had the $50 in the over. Right. That's exactly right. So um but just you watch the kid play. Nothing seems like nothing phases him. Certainly this will be the toughest test for him. And when you have to play a division rival three times in the same season, it's just that's going to favor the team with more experience. Philadelphia's won in the playoffs. This is a Cinderella story for the Washington Commanders. It makes almost no sense, but damn it, give me the Washington Commanders to beat the Philadelphia Eagles and give me the over 47 and a half.
Yeah,
Let's make
I
some
think
money.
we're both agreeing on that one. Definitely the over.
The over's got I just think there's going to be points in this one. I actually
31-21. That's what you're looking at.
I'll take it. I mean, I'll take a lot. I don't care as long as Washington wins. You know what I
No,
mean?
that's 31-21 Philadelphia.
I get, yeah, no, that's what you, so you like 31
Actually, you
21,
know what? Maybe 31-17.
31 17. I mean, you're just at
Yeah, 31-21 is just it's too nice. You know, I need some
31
more.
17. He
More
thinks that Washington and their high powered offense is only putting up 17. All right.
they're definitely not scoring 33 this time.
Well, probably not.
I more on par with the 18. Again, at the link. I don't know what it's going to look like over there this weekend. At home is going to be a huge advantage for them. Now, I agree with you. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to be very phased at all. I really don't think he is. But I just think his team is undermatched. They're like a year or two off, like I said with the Texans. I think you get them more defensive help next year on that front seven. I think they're going to be a good team. But I just don't think this is their year.
So, for the record, and I just want to say this, he is making the level-headed and sensible pick here, folks. I am the one that's doing the crazy, outlandish, potentially stupid thing here. But the kid is poised beyond his years. There's a certain just sense of like he's gonna come. Man, I was so geeked up last Saturday night. I was texting people that please don't get me in trouble for this because this is a compliment. But I was texting people that this is Black Brady. He's Black Brady. Like, oh my God, I really wish that I didn't do that. Maybe shouldn't have said that just now either. But I got there's believability in this kid, and I think it goes all the way to the Super Bowl. I don't necessarily think it wins the Super Bowl, but I think we talked earlier in the season about how Philly is not. Listen, you're right. Fourth worst run defense. They're probably not going to be able to stop Saquon Barkley. If they can't stop Saquon Barkley, if he goes for that 150 plus, they're probably going to lose the game, right? If they can figure out a way to force Jalen Hurts to throw the ball, they got a shot. That's all I'm
Yes.
saying.
I
But
agree.
but he's making the sensible pick, folks, just so you know. So Josh is taking Philly in the over. I'm taking Washington and the over in the NFC Championship game. And that leaves us with one more. It is nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. They are the two
Amen.
seed. Excuse me?
I said, Amen. We're going with
That's
circle.
right. That's right. But you're not gonna like my pick. Buffalo. Yeah, we can't agree. Yeah. I really think Buffalo's gonna win the game, though. Why do I have KC down here? Eh. Buffalo, 2 seed, 1.5 point dogs at Kansas City. The over under 48.5 in this game. Did you know Josh Allen is 4-1 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season? He's 4-1 in the regular
Except in the
season.
playoffs.
I'm sorry?
I said, except in the playoffs. Can't beat him in the
He
playoffs.
is 0-3 in the playoffs. And this one's on the road in Arrowhead. And as I said earlier in the show, Patrick Mahomes has never lost a playoff game in regulation. He has lost one in overtime. Thank you, TB12. We love you and we miss you. Um, anyway, what do you see? What is your crystal ball telling you about this? Because this is a hard game to pick.
This is going to be like this isn't going to be exactly like the Ravens Bills game. Like it's going to be close. I don't see one team pulling away. Again, Kansas City still hasn't scored more than 30 points in a game all year long. I'd like to see a team that hasn't scored 30 points once in a season and won a Super Bowl. I'd like to see some stats on that. Can we get our stat guys on that?
I should have had that earlier for you. Sorry.
We'll find someone that can find that for us.
We'll work on that for next week.
But I just there's no way this team makes it to the Super Bowl without scoring 30 points in one game this season. And against a Bills team that beat them earlier this year and looked good doing it. So I think, and I'm hoping that I'm right. I think the Bills win by 3 in regulation. I don't think it gets to OT. Because I think Josh Allen knows, like they did. I don't know if it was like week 13 or whatever week it was when they played. But Josh Allen knew they went for it on that 4th and 2, and Josh Allen ran it for like 29 yards or whatever, ran it into the end zone because he knows I'm not giving Patrick Mahomes the ball back. He knows I'm not leaving any time on the clock. We're not doing this whole last 2 minutes bull crap. I'm going to take this game into my hands. I think he's going to be Superman tomorrow, and they're going to win that game.
All right, that's fair. So I will take the evil villain side of this whole thing. And
Unbelievable.
I know that's really not my. Yeah, I know. How can
I think they're going to take your Patriots card. I think they're going to take it.
I? What do you mean?
They're going to take your fan card. You can't pick Kansas City.
No, you're right. I can't pick Kansas City. Not in good faith. I won't do it. Just like last week, no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. Yes, Kansas City has two distinct advantages in this game. One, the referees definitely in their pocket. Two, coaching. Sorry, hate to say it, Kansas City's a better coach team,
I will agree.
but they have not looked like a championship winning team all season. They continue to eke out games. They've gotten a ton of help along the way. But Travis Kelce looks too slow. Their offense isn't that good. In their defense, if you can block Chris Jones, you can get to their defense. And it's not that easy, but it is that simple.
Joe
Uh,
Mixon ran the ball well against them last week.
I'm sorry.
Joe Mixon ran the ball well
Yeah,
against them.
18 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, he did. He did.
So,
No, Houston moved the ball up and down the field on them like we were talking about. We sat here and watched it. It's just they couldn't finish any drives off. And then D'Amico Ryans made a stupid call to kick like a 55-yard field goal in that cold or whatever, and Fairbairn had no shot. So, but Kansas City, I think Kansas City can be had. I've been saying it all season. They don't look like that 2018 Patriots team to me. They look like the 2019 Patriots to me, which if you recall was a team that started 8-0 and Brady was miserable because he knew it was his last year here. He didn't want to be here anymore. And he said, I'm the most miserable 8-0 quarterback of all time. And they had the whole boogeyman thing with the defense. The defense ended up falling apart. They were one and done in the playoffs. That was it. So, yes, they've gotten a little bit further than that. It's time for a new. It's time for a new. It is Josh Allen's time. It is. It's been his year. Okay. Even if he doesn't win the MVP, he's going to be a close runner up. He's got the new wife. happy life, all that fun stuff there. And he has evolved so much since he's come into the league, right? Mahomes hasn't played his best football really for the last 2 years. Certainly not this year. It feels like there's a shift coming. So I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Bills Commanders Super Bowl, probably overdoing it. The Buffalo Bills are going to win in Kansas City tomorrow night. So we are both in agreement on that. So that is pretty cool. Do you want to add anything else about that game before we move forward yet again?
Yeah, I think it's gonna. Why am I blanking on his first name? But the linebacker Milano for
Matt Milano?
yeah, Matt. That's what it is. Knew it was an M. He's gonna be key. He's gonna be key because he's gonna be the one that's matched up either as a spy or covering Travis Kelce or watching Kelce. So he's gonna be the guy to watch because Kelce was open so much in the middle of the field last game, and then when he would catch the ball, the Texans refused to tackle the guy, like just falling off him, sliding away from him. I'm like, how in the world do you not? We were saying it. The guy looked like he was carrying a 1,000 pound load on his back, and they couldn't tackle him.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, it's yeah, it's gonna. I mean, this game. Well, I mean, the over under is 48 and a half. I sort of like the over in this game, but
It's gonna be flirtatious for
in
sure.
in the end, it's going to come down to defense ultimately. So it's going to come down to who gets that last stop, and maybe as simple as whichever one of them has the ball last, just like a couple of years ago, and then all hell broke loose with 13 seconds left in the game. So
Pick the
that,
ball in the end zone.
yep, that's just it. So we both like the Bills. Josh is going with Philly and the sensible take in the NFC Championship game. I will take Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders. I think that everyone's head will explode if we actually get a Washington Buffalo Super Bowl, but it just might happen. So
Pretty
just
dope.
say, wouldn't that be? It would be fun at least.
That'd be a great game.
At least it would be fun because if we get Philly and Kansas City again, everyone's gonna throw up.
Yeah,
But
and I will say, whether you're a Kansas City hater or not, the last time they played, it was a fun game.
yeah, no, it was.
There was a
Yeah,
lot of scoring. That there was offense. This time it won't be.
right, exactly.
This could be like a 17-14 Super Bowl if it's those two teams.
Yeah, no, yeah, it would suck. 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 So there you
Listen,
go.
Gal, it wouldn't be a good game.
It would blow. It would suck and it would blow. Okay.
No one cares about Taylor Swift.
Let's not share my opinions on Taylor Swift on in this forum because I got a lot of things to say that a lot of people wouldn't like. So let's just leave it at that. So that's our picks. That's the NFL playoffs, my friend. A few coaching situations I wanted to get into in the NFL, but we're kind of just gonna like fly by the seat of our pants on this stuff. And then I want to do a quick little. This is still gonna end up being an hour at the end, but that's okay, folks. It's the Terrandome. I'm Scott. He's Josh. Conference championship weekend edition. Let's do a little bit about the NFL coaching, and then I want to just hit on the baseball Hall of Fame, and we'll get out of here. So, um, three new head coaches have been hired since we last spoke. I believe it's three. Chicago hires Ben Johnson right after Detroit loses that game to Washington. Liam Cohen, an interesting saga with him and the Jaguars and the Bucks. That one's an interesting one. Could be some ramifications coming legally or otherwise for that. And finally, everyone's favorite gum chewer, Pete Carroll, at 73 years old, is back in the NFL, and he's coaching Tom Brady's minority-owned Las Vegas Raiders. Oh yeah, and Josh McDaniels, surprise, surprise, I was right, is back with the Patriots for the third time. So, where would you like to start in all of this mess?
You did forget Aaron Glenn also got hired.
Aaron Glenn hired by the New York Jets.
Right?
So, there's only one job
One
left
left.
open.
Oh, and you forgot Brian Schottenheimer.
Ugh. Yeah, well, isn't that forgettable enough?
It definitely is.
Yeah,
Very interesting. A very Jerry Jones like pick. Would we agree?
I would say so. A safe choice, or an unknown choice, I guess. Like
A guy
who
who's
would
never called plays for your team, but he was there, so let's hire him.
Who was ever like, who would have thought that Jason Garrett would one get hired and two be there for 10 years? Like that's Jerry Jones for you.
Yep.
So
So let's start with because I'd like to save Cohen for last because that one, like you said, that one is going to be probably a couple weeks worth of drama.
yeah.
But I like the Bears. That's a great hire. Anyone who got Ben Johnson was going to be a good hire. Um, Pete Carroll, he can blow me. I can't stand that guy. 49ers guy here, so I don't like him. But I think I don't think it's a bad hire at all. The guy knows how to win, so I can't get mad at them for making that.
Well, at least it's not in your division, but oddly enough, it is in Jim Harbaugh's division.
And he'll be against the Chiefs, so maybe a little more rub against the Chiefs next year. Give them a little more run for their money.
Mm,
And then I like the Aaron Glenn hiring a lot. Um, Another defensive coach though for the Jets. I'm surprised they didn't go in the offensive direction.
yep.
And then who we missing? And then of course New Orleans just and we haven't really heard anything. They are taking their time for sure.
I don't think that anybody I don't think anyone wants the job.
Maybe.
I don't know if
And
anyone wants to deal with Derek Carr and cap jail.
I was gonna say I was just talking to my buddy last night, and he said Derek Carr came out and said I am not taking a restructure. So,
Derek Carr sucks.
so you are
Sucks.
definitely in cap jail there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not taking a restructure. Dude, you shouldn't even be a starter in the league. Screw you, buddy. But easy for me to say. And then yeah, of course, couple of coordinator hires as well. McDaniels comes back here. I don't really need to get into that too much. I think it's just safety blanket stuff here. I don't know. I guess he was Vrabel's choice because they put out a video where they interview McDaniels and he's like, "Oh, I picked up Mike Vrabel from the airport." So that's a cute little narrative that they just tied up for us. Whether that's true or not, who knows? But that's what he said. Um, and not only that, I like Ben Johnson too. I mean, I just don't know if anybody's ever going to turn around the Chicago Bears. To me, I'm still waiting for that to happen.
Bears.
The Bears, and then
Bears.
Pete Carroll's not. They don't have a roster for him, so and I don't think they're going to give him control like he had in Seattle either. But I could be wrong about that. So we'll see. The Cohen one's very interesting. Do you like Robert Saleh coming back to the 49ers
I
as the D
love it.
coordinator? I
I love
would I would too. I would too. That's a good hire, I think. Yeah. Why not?
And so now because he wasn't running for the Jaguars job, and he was the leading candidate for a while. But now that he's back, now he has something to prove. So that defense should really make a 180 from last year and hopefully get back to where they were a year or two ago.
Yeah, nothing like coach talk, right? But I think you're right about that because I still contend that Saleh shouldn't have been fired in the first place
No,
from that
at
job.
least
I
not that early.
sorry.
At least not that early.
No, 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 that's not right. That's just Rodgers being a POS, and then they don't even now they're like, oh, now we don't even want you back. Like, all right, okay, might as well go to Minnesota and do the full Favre trajectory. I'm just saying, there's still a chance to do that. Oh, and by the way, the Jets have the opportunity to do something really, really funny too. You know what that is?
What's that?
Bring back Sam Darnold, baby. Bring him back. Watch him go to crap again. So there's that. Let's do the Liam Cohen thing really quick. Former Bucks offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, Rhode Island native, by the way. Didn't know if you know that, but
Did
Rhode
not know.
Island. Sorry,
I did not know that.
Rhode Island native Liam Cohen. Um, or at least he was born here. I don't know if he still lives here. He's nuts, but he was born here. Um, what was I gonna say? But yeah, so basically what happens is no head coach wanted to work with Jaguars general manager Trent Baalke. So,
Ex 49ers. Ex 49ers. And he was the reason Jim Harbaugh left because
hmm,
Jim Harbaugh and Trent Baalke could not agree on the players that Jim wanted more control. So there was a rub there. Jim Harbaugh gets shipped out. Then Trent Baalke gets fired like a year or two later. Then he goes to the Jaguars and he just did the same crap there. And then
yep.
he was the
So
reason that Cohen wasn't going to go.
so basically, right? They interview Liam Cohen, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm good with this Baalke guy," right? So he's like, "Thanks, but no thanks." Goes back to Tampa. They agree to restructure his contract and make him the highest paid offensive coordinator in the league, basically like a head coaching salary, if he promises to stay, because he'll be their next head coach in waiting, a la Jerod Mayo situation. Well, then the Jaguars owner finally wakes up. Sean Khan says, ding, 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 this Balky guy's a problem. I finally figured it out. Fires Trent Balky, and now Liam Cohen, the next day, gets back on a plane up to Jacksonville, not far from Tampa, and he takes the Jaguars job.
And he didn't talk
So
to anyone in the front office and only spoke to Todd Bowles.
that's it. Right. And come on, man, not again. It's that the really, I'm trying to do a point, and then it just decide. Yeah, I don't even remember where I was now. Um, that's a wild situation. I really feel like there's going to be some kind of tampering,
Right?
investigation that
They're
gets.
gonna they're gonna have to charge the Jaguars with that, right? Because if he was under contract where he's not allowed to take another interview, and the Jaguars did not contact Tampa Bay, whether it was intentional or not, that's like they're gonna get screwed.
Yeah, it's going to be a little sticky for them. And maybe, if they were the Patriots, they'd probably lose like 3 first-round draft picks, and their quarterback would get suspended for 4 games. But what do I know? So anyway, folks, just one more topic on this one, which is actually turning into like one of our quicker episodes ever, between at least with you and me on the program. But Baseball Hall of Fame voting. We're just only going to spend a few minutes on this. 3 guys make the Hall of Fame, and I just think that the BBWAA, the Baseball Writers Association, a total joke. Um, 3 guys get in. You have Ichiro Suzuki, who got all but one vote to be the second unanimous Hall of Famer ever. One a-hole leaves him off their ballot. One guy. CC Sabathia gets in. Listen, great pitcher. Not taking that away from him. Great pitcher. 6-time All-Star, Cy Young, world champion, all that. Gets in on the first ballot. And Billy Wagner, an all-time great closer, took him 10 years to get in, but he gets in his final year of eligibility. What do you make of Billy Wagner? I think we can agree on. Probably should have been in a few
Yeah,
years
I
ago.
mean, you and I grew up watching Billy Wagner absolutely blow gas on guys.
He was one of the
Um,
only dominant. He was one of the only lefty closers of that era because he was
right?
one of the,
Like,
he was one of the hardest. He was throwing 100 before it was cool.
yeah,
So,
blowing doors on guys.
yeah, no, Billy Wagner was an all-time great. Um, Deserves it. Shouldn't have been 10 years for him to wait.
Absolutely not.
No chance. CC Sabathia first ballot. We'll work backwards here. What do you CC Sabathia? Great pitcher, right? But first ballot Hall of Famer.
No, I don't think so. And not to take anything away from CC's career because he was a stud, but it's like again, wasn't sniffing 300 wins, right? Like,
Nope.
and no one probably ever will because of
No.
the fact that pitchers are babied nowadays. But so he was during that time frame where 300 wins was kind of the standard. Like he was, once every 5 days, pitch 6, 7 innings. Like that was what was required of him. And he did it well, but like he didn't do it at such an elite level that when he retired, you were like, well, this guy's going to be a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean? Like that, it wasn't like the guy, like an Ichiro, where you knew, yeah, that guy's first ballot.
I kind of thought that he would be eventually. To be honest
But
with
I'm
you, I
saying,
thought,
even like as soon as he retired, it wasn't like that is what the Hall of Fame needs. You know what I mean? Like
well,
it's
yeah,
not what I associate with him.
right. Yeah, that's fair.
Like Randy Johnson, like he retires, you're like that guy's a Hall of Famer. Like
Yeah,
if he
sure.
doesn't get in right away, it's a joke. Like I don't think anyone's looking at Cease, but there's such a myriad of guys who were in that steroid era that they're not putting in, which is fine with me because I'm like I'm an old head, I guess you'll say, and I'm a purist. So it's like if you took steroids, I don't want you in. Hate me, love me, I don't care. To me, like I loved the game during that time, but like you knew the guys that were on roids, and it pisses you off. Like someone like Barry Bonds, you didn't need him. You were so good. Why did you
Right.
need him?
And that's the one I always go back to, and I always go back to this one. Is Barry Bonds should still be a Hall of Famer to me. Sorry, but
And I would agree with you,
he
but I'm
didn't need
so
it.
pissed off that he got so mad at Sammy Sosa
He
and
got
Rob.
jealous. Yeah,
Why, dude? Why? Like you were so good. You were so
fragile ego.
good.
Yeah, he was great. Wasn't he 40-40? I mean, he was great. He was.
Yes, he was so freaking good. You didn't need to cheat, and that's what pisses me off.
Yeah, that's fair. What should piss you off even more than that is Ichiro. One jackass decided that, oh, I gotta be the guy that makes sure he's not unanimous and just left him off the ballot. One guy. That's
I don't
it.
know how you don't vote for him. Like, what is your reasoning?
I think it's just to be an a-hole because I can't
Right?
think of any reason
Because I'm
why you would have.
anonymous. No one's ever gonna know who I am.
The
Like,
guy, the guy had two Hall of Fame careers, one in Japan and one here. Like I don't understand it. Even if just take out everything he did in Japan, he still had a Hall of Fame career here. It's nuts to me. It's
I don't,
it's
I
it's
don't know if you've
insane.
heard this stat. I heard it on Instagram the other day. I was watching a video. After his 10th at bat, his average never
Who
dipped
never
under.
fell behind 300, right?
That's insane.
That's incredible.
That is unbelievable. Like
That's
that is the most
incredible.
incredible hitting stat I've ever heard in my entire life. That's like Tony Gwynn.
And that and a Tony Gwynn stat are the most unbelievable ones.
Like
Yeah.
it's unbelievable. And you're gonna leave this guy off for because you're anonymous and you want to be the one. You want to be the one. It's
Yeah.
like the guys who left Griffey off. Like I was so pissed when he didn't get unanimous. Like I
Yeah,
was
it's
so pissed.
completely ridiculous. You want to, and the only guy that's a unanimous Hall of Famer is a closer? Okay. All right, sure. Yeah, that makes sense. So, um, Josh, great show tonight. Clocking in right about an hour here. I think we've covered everything. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we get out of here?
No. I mean this I will say, ladies and gentlemen, I mean it might be perfect to wait till tomorrow morning. This is your perfect pregame right here to get ready for the big Sunday.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's definitely got to be us and nothing else. Just make sure you replay this episode as many times in a row as you can until you have it ingrained in your memory,
No
folks.
NFL countdown, none of that. You don't need it.
No, you don't need any of
What are we
that.
going to tell you that we didn't?
Yeah, you're not going to find better insight than this. Definitely not from former players who played the game or anything like that. But folks, he's Josh. Josh, thank you again for coming on the show as you've done all throughout the playoffs, and I know that you will do again in
Next
2 weeks. You can
we
take
got to
next
run
week
the
off if
tape
you.
next week. We got to run the tape.
What do you run the tape?
Our beginning of the year. That's next week.
Is it?
Yeah,
Because
you said.
we got a lot of other sports we got to talk about next week too. We've been ignoring three sports for the better part of 2 months now.
Well, unfortunately, we live in a society where it's football or die.
Yeah, well, all right. So we'll run the tape next week. We'll run the tape. We'll recap whatever happens in the two conference championship games this week. We'll run the tape next week back on. That'll be fun for me to edit. I can't wait for that. And we'll hit on some other topics we haven't touched on in quite some time. If you want to come back next week, you can. If you want to take the week off leading up to the Super Bowl, that's up to you. But
Hell no.
all right, well then he'll be back next week. Folks, I'll be back next week as well. Every time I say which day I think the show's going to be, it doesn't end up being on that day. So I'm going to say that I think it's going to end up being on Wednesday next week. So we will look forward to that. I'm Scott. He's Josh. It's the Terrandome. Thank you so much once again for listening or watching, whatever you do. Feel free to like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. And we will see you next week. So take care and enjoy the games tomorrow, everybody. Have a good one.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!